podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Merry Christmas or non-denominational festival of your choosing.
Yeah, it's the traditional annual Rantcast non-denominational winter festival of your own choosing special.
Woohoo, it's catchy.
Imagine sleigh bells are playing here, or maybe Tom's put some sleigh bells in, who knows?
Yeah, he's Mr. Special Effects.
He is.
I've been listening on, I have a regular Sunday night drive. We are recording on Sunday night.
Yeah.
I've been listening to Bloodshot Records' Sad Christmas playlist, which is awesome. I'm not one for Christmas cheer, so this was good. Including some absolute bangers by Johnny Cash and John Denver.
The funny thing about this is, just before we started recording, I was literally listening to the cheeriest, cheesiest Christmas songs you can imagine. We are so on brand right now, Ed.
Yeah, I can just about stand the Christmas tree.
Right.
But,
Doesn't having kids change it for you? Doesn't the little magical looks on their faces kind of, bring some? Do
you know
Christmas
how long that
cheer?
magical looks like? I mean, that's in films. The magical look lasts about 3 seconds until they go, "Oh, I didn't want the lightsaber in red. I wanted it in blue," and then proceed to throw all their toys at the window.
I never did that as a child. I was always grateful for my Christmas presents.
Good little that they are. Anyway, no, I'm sure they'll be magically loving it and all of that.
Yeah.
How about the football? Has that been magical?
Well, I didn't watch the Bournemouth game. Sorry,
you didn't miss much,
I meant to catch up with some of it before we recorded the podcast. And then I remembered about 3 minutes ago. Oh yeah, I didn't watch that. I saw the goal. That's it. Oh, and Rashford.
The burst, man, Yeah, it was kind of. I mean, I'd say it's frustrating, but it's not like United were brilliant or anything. In fact, Bournemouth created a whole ton of chances. I'd say probably De Gea was man of the match, which would tell you something about the game. Although not all of the story. This wasn't United on the back foot and Bournemouth having 31 shots or whatever it was at Arsenal the other week. But they created some good chances, and De Gea had to make a couple of smart saves. Had to make quite a few saves, and United were just pretty lethargic. I think it was 2 shots on target in total in the whole game. A lot of possession in areas that didn't really hurt Bournemouth very much at all. So it was one of those games you're like, phew, bad performance, got away with it. It's just there's quite a lot of those these days.
How was Luke Shaw? I heard he was good.
Yeah, he was all right. I'm not much the same as the CSKA game. I'm not suddenly going to turn him from, no hoper to world beater. but it was another solid performance from him. He didn't make the team for the weekend game, which he might have felt, a bit unfortunate, given that he is a natural left back and he does get forward and he has all the requisite qualities, and he's put in 2 decent performances since he's made it into the team over the past couple of weeks. So, bit unfortunate for him there, but good performance against Bournemouth. I hope he gets some more, but it doesn't really feel like it at the moment. But a couple in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I guess it's a big deal that one of those was in the Premier League, because Mourinho's kind of obsessed with making all his rotation outside of the Premier League a lot of the time with his really fringe players. So
he is, although he made some changes for this Bournemouth game, didn't he? He brought McTominay into central midfield, dropped Ander Herrera, and McTominay was very good. I mean, in fact, every time he's played, he's a non-spectacular player, isn't he? But he just seems to be very mature in possession of the ball, gets into the right places. He's very smart with his use of the ball as well. I think he actually makes runs ahead of it as well, so he's not just a water carrier in there. He just seems very mature and intelligent for a young player, although he's not super young in that position. Feels like he's got a good future ahead of him.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was really good when he came on today against West Brom as well. I thought we actually sort of started to look a bit more assured once he'd come on. That was like during West Brom's little good period. Chris Vokes from Goal.com was sat next to me at that game, and he made the point that McTominay's really late growth spurt might have helped him because he sort of had to train himself as a kind of non-physical midfielder. He had to kind of learn the game as a sort of smaller than the rest kind of, or very average size midfielder, and kind of learn the reading of the game and all the kind of stuff you have to do to make up for being a bit small physically. And now he's also kind of grown a load, which adds another dimension. So I thought that was an interesting analysis.
It's fair enough, although he became a midfielder quite late as well.
Right.
So he spent some of his youth career as a forward.
Right.
But yes, he's done, he's Brian McClare Mark II, isn't he?
He's come a lot younger, the move back into midfield, than it did for old Jockey.
Elsewhere, I thought Matic was solid in midfield. You couldn't really give any of the forwards too much credit. Lukaku scored, which is good.
Rashford hit that absolutely amazing shot off the bar.
Rashford hit the screamer, so unlucky. 3 inches lower and it's in off the bar. It would have been an absolute worldie. And I thought Lukaku was all right. It was a better performance. He was involved in the game a lot. Got the goal, didn't celebrate, which was interesting. Mata was okay too. Obviously, the assist for him. Everyone at the back was solid. Shaw good. Jones and Smalling, much criticised, but very solid. Well, solid-ish. Although Bournemouth were very good at breaking from midfield and creating chances. It's all round. It was okay performance, but a little bit flat.
Which brings us on to West Brom then, and a game in which I thought Chris Smalling, I've been very critical of, was excellent in that game. I thought Chris Smalling had a pretty fantastic game, really, and in the first half, I thought United were excellent. Had 60-something% possession in that first half. 2-0 up, another goal for Lukaku, didn't really celebrate, but I think there's an awful lot being made of that, and some of it has got a slightly unpleasant tone, as always, when discussion about Lukaku. But yeah, and then Lingard scored, and happy days, and then United got super complacent, let West Brom back into it, and kind of like, that first half an hour, what you said on Twitter, I think it was all very Louis Van Marino-ish or Jose Van Gaglio or something.
Van Gaglino. Yeah, it was. Just the possession was there in the second half, I guess, but the pace went completely out of United's game. They seemed to get about 10 yards deep, especially in the last 15 minutes or so. And just the lack of oomph was significant. I'm not sure that the substitutions helped, particularly United.
I think McTominay for McTominay coming on for Lingard, I think that really did solidify United, and we kind of looked. There wasn't anything that happened after that where they were in danger, I don't think.
No, I mean, it's a classic Mourinho substitution, that one. I mean, Rashford, Martial, that's, whatever. We've got two great players there, and Mourinho only uses one magically. McTominay for Lingard, yes, it gave United extra body in midfield. But classic Mourinho substitution, isn't it? Let's see this one out. And I guess Rojo came on for his inevitable yellow card for Valencia late on. Nearly sliced one into his net as well.
It wasn't that late on, actually, was it? Valencia went down injured, so that with a hamstring, and that he was certainly limping. And then Young went to right back, Rocco went to left back, and you just don't want Rocco a left back ever.
Yeah. You only want him in central back. Central back? I've invented a new term. Centre back occasionally, or when he's on it.
Yeah.
It would have been an absolute classic if he'd put that one into his own net for 2-2. It felt like it was coming at some point.
It kind of did.
I think, as I said on Twitter, it'll be 100% United's fault if they concede an equaliser there. Some people commented on my dodgy maths. Fair enough. But the extent to which West Brom got back into that game, I think, was significantly down to United's mentality in that second half.
Yeah, and I asked Mourinho about the collective psyche of the team. I think we can hear that clip now. What do you make of the team's kind of collective psychology at the moment? Because it almost seems like when things are going well, they look really fluid, delighted, but when things get tricky, they do start to look a bit nervous from an untrained eye. What do you think of their collective psyche at the moment?
Complicated question, complicated answer. Intelligent question, honestly. But the only thing I can say is that human beings. It's as simple as that. And if you try, like we did, probably based on my experience, probably based on my personality, when my team is winning, keeps an emotional balance, and we don't do circus. Also, when we are losing, when we are in not happy moments, we try not to be depressed. We try to keep our balance. So I think it's important, but at the same time, human beings, of course, happiness and unhappiness, they play a part in performances and results.
Oh, that was an interesting clip. Yeah, I wonder why I chose to include that in the show.
Well, I wonder why. I thought Mourinho was probably in his sort of acerbic, sarcastic phase, especially when he said something about the questioner being intelligent.
That's my last ever press conference, and I thought, yeah, that's going out with a bang. That was good.
I mean, I've got to say, it was better than the time that you almost wet yourself when you asked Van Gaal a question.
That was not the best moment of my career. But the thing is, I was sat in the front row and he looked right at me, and I just wasn't expecting it, Ed. I just was not expecting it. For newer listeners, I asked Louis Van Gaal once why United was struggling so much to break down teams, because he kept talking about how we were struggling to play in the last 20 metres. And I asked him why, and he looked at me and went, "Why do you think it was?" And I just giggled nervously and said, "I don't know." When in my head, I was thinking, it's because you don't allow any of the midfielders to get ahead of the ball. But yeah, not my finest hour. But that last one, that was pretty good fun. And I must confess that one of the reasons I would make a terrible journalist is I was very excited when Jose Mourinho called my question intelligent.
Talking to Louis, did we talk about the fact that Louis has been talking about Jose in the past week or so?
No, we didn't. We recorded before... Well, in fact, we recorded before a great deal of the aftermath of the City game, which I guess we should at least touch on.
Yeah, well, I mean, Louis first. He's got some biscuits, hasn't he, Louis? Wow.
Famously.
If it was anyone else, like if it was Pep Guardiola or if it was Kevin Keegan, and said, Mourinho's football's a bit boring. But Louis van Gaal...
The thing is, he said this 2-sentence thing. He said, I would prefer to watch Manchester City than Manchester United because they play better football. And you're like, okay, well, actually, from a kind of completely impartial, neutral view, I can completely understand that point of view. But then he said, my United was always attacking. That's why every other team parked the bus against us. It's like, no, Louis, your team was always passing the ball to each other sideways, which why 2 banks of 4 was 100% successful against you. And we played the most boring to watch football any Man United fan that doesn't remember Dave Sexton has ever seen.
Yeah. Special. It was not.
No.
The aftermath of City, because all the stuff about the tunnel fight came out afterwards. We didn't discuss it on last week's pod, but that was quite entertaining, wasn't it? The fallout from all of that. Although I've got to say, this kind of snidey, snarky Mourinho is the Mourinho I really do not like. This is not the funny, charming, one-liner, put down the opposition manager Mourinho. I mean, it was like, basically, City have over-celebrated because they've got a film crew in there. So after every victory now, they have some kind of celebration picture like they've won the title.
Well, I thought that United...
Because it's a narrative for the Amazon studios who are filming them.
I thought United had denied access to the Amazon film crew.
They denied access to their dressing room.
Right.
Not to City's dressing room.
Oh, okay. I'm slightly saddened that we just didn't say, no, you can't. We've made an exclusive deal with Netflix, so you're not coming in here.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is why this is a really kind of small club, but I have to say Mourinho's response was a bit small club as well.
A bit. Like, what's wrong with him? Jose Mourinho, literally at the scene of the place that he ran half the length of the pitch and did a knee slide, like, as opposition manager when he won a game, complaining about other people over-celebrating. If City celebrated like they won the league after that game, that's because they basically won the league after that game. Obviously, it's not technically over, but just like we all knew we'd won the league when Robin van Persie hit that free kick in against that thought, courtesy of Darren Richmond, friend of the show. But we all knew that we'd won the league when Van Persie scored at the Etihad and made it 3-2. That was December. Everyone knows City won the league that day, So, yeah, of course they're going to go absolutely crazy. They should go absolutely crazy. Even if they weren't going to win the league, they've just beaten their biggest rivals at their place and looked really good doing it. Of course they're going to over-celebrate. For Mourinho to go into their dressing room and go, turn the music down, have some respect, it's a bit rich.
Yeah, it is. And he can't have known about the really small club stuff. Like, not the noise, but the confetti and the team photo. Bit pathetic, but I know why they're doing it. But for him to, storm in it and start talking about respect afterwards. I mean, look, I'm going to take one step further. Show me a football fan of any persuasion who wants respect. It's just not fun. No one wants respect. You want to milk your moment of glory as much as possible. I mean, this is Manchester United we're talking about. Not arrogant, just better. We milked it for 20 years. So,
are you using the word milk pointedly there because Edison reportedly, allegedly threw some milk at Jose Mourinho?
I mean, the thing is, this is why City are still a bit of a small club. They'd have had that milk sponsored if they were United,
Yeah, absolutely. The aftermath of that was that Mikel Arteta went home with his head bleeding, which someone did some sort of serious damage. There was a brilliant tweet from, I think it was Danny Taylor. The tweet said, this was not handbags. There was an actual fight. It's like, I mean, there's got to be a substantial portion of both fan bases who are absolutely delighted to hear that the teams are fighting each other.
Yeah, good. I mean, I think United should have shown some fight on the pitch, to be honest. If one of our players had actually thrown an actual punch on the pitch, maybe you could explain how pathetically cowardly we were in that game.
You said that no one wants respect. No one in football wants respect. But of course, one person in football wants respect. the man who said, when I was in Japan, I did admire the sumos because they win or lose, they do not show happiness. It's like Jose Mourinho, Arsene Wenger wants football to be more like sumo wrestling.
He should become Everton manager then. He's got Wayne Rooney in the team.
Oh, wow.
Low blow.
Wow.
Cheek. Oh.
Take that shot of Christmas sherry now, anyone playing the Rentcast drinking game.
Wow. I mean, yeah, that's just totally Route 1, that was.
Yeah. It's another 2011 banter, Ed.
I'm going to keep milking it.
So back to the West Brom game. I thought that Nemanja Matic was absolutely superb in that first half. Friend of the show, Cal Gildart, saying to me that he's low key one of United's best flat track bullies, Nemanja Matic, because against inferior midfields he kind of runs over them completely, and he definitely did in that first half, and it made me really excited for Pogba to be back, because Ander Herrera again was fine defensively, but honestly, it's just sad watching him. He plays the easy pass every time.
He didn't used to do that.
I know.
I think it's been coached out of him.
But it's weird. You wouldn't think Mourinho would be the one to coach that out of him. It's Van Gaal-esque. It really is. Like, he so rarely, if his body shape is in any way facing our own goal rather than the opposition goal, you're not seeing the kind of head on a swivel, Paul Scholes kind of looking for opportunities to kind of turn and play the ball forward. He's laying the ball off to the fullback or even the centre-back or Matic so often. I'd love to see the numbers on this, because maybe it's just confirmation bias, but it seems to me that he's doing that kind of 3 out of 4 times when he's got the ball.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. He's become much more conservative and inward looking, and it's a problem when he's playing alongside Matic, because not only do we not have a player breaking ahead of the ball, but it's not that much progressive passing coming from central midfield. And it does mean that Mata becomes quite important. He has to tuck inside, especially when you have Lingard, because Lingard is in the team. He's not a classic number 10 by any means. He's in there to cause damage through his running. Not through his passing. So it leaves United a little bit, lopsided in terms of the shape, I think, when you have Herrera and Matic in there. It shouldn't be, because Herrera's he's got all the skills to be that all-round player.
Yeah.
And he, in fact, was that all-round player.
Yeah.
And he spent last year at number 6 and has no ability, it seems, to reinvent himself or go back to his past as a number 8.
And it's just a huge shame and such a strange thing. And now we've seen, we had the whole time Pogba was injured, and now we've had a 3-game spell with Pogba suspended, and he played 2 out of those 3 games. You talked about McTominay being in as a rotation option. There's a strong argument to say McTominay should just have been in that game on form. Maybe he against West Brom he wanted a bit more physical power, and that's fair enough. But yeah, the kind of mystery of Ander Herrera looms. And, I'm certainly not ready to... I've seen loads of people are, the kind of knee-jerk thing of like, sell him. But I would no way advocate that, because I wouldn't be at all surprised if we see a kind of blooming renaissance from Ander Herrera at some point.
Sure, yeah. I mean, if you believed the knee-jerk sell him crowd, I don't think we'd have too many players left, would we?
No, Henrik Mkhitaryan definitely wouldn't be at United anymore.
Well,
I wonder if he's going to be
might not
much longer.
Anyway.
Yep.
Given that the smoke is rising from Jose Mourinho's palace at the Lowry, and basically everyone has been told that Mkhitaryan is available.
Yeah. Which is remarkable. It would be a remarkable story of a flop. And, we've seen a lot of different kinds of analysis of this, and one of them is just Mkhitaryan's not good enough, and I just don't buy it. Maybe it's true. Could definitely be wrong, but I don't instinctively buy that based on what we've seen him do with the football. But to be fair, I didn't buy that about Kagawa either. And people.
Maybe we could swap him for Kagawa and get him back. He's doing all right, isn't he?
Mixed, I think, is the story on Kagawa's post-United Dortmund career. I thought Mata was fine. Jesse Lingard was busy and exciting. And there was some nice link-up play with Lukaku and Rashford. It's really interesting watching Rashford as compared to Martial because they're such different players. Even though they're sort of, they play the same role in United side, but you see the way they address the ball, and Rashford is I guess more direct than Martial in the sense of he wants to get rid of the ball sooner a lot of the time, and he'll kind of shoot or put in these kind of long far post crosses / shots that you can't quite tell which is which, that only work very occasionally, whereas Martial wants to front up to the player and, even when he's got 3 players on him, he's trying to beat them all. It's interesting that they're both excellent. They're just very different, and they're not interchangeable in the way that they're. The team plays a bit differently with each of them in the side. So there is it's not just a straight swap, is it?
No, it's not just a straight swap. Swap.
It's not just a straight swap.
No, you're right. It's not, and which is one of the reasons why it's kind of frustrating that Mourinho's basically taken 2 very exciting young players and given the squad 1, which is what he's done.
I mean, he played.
And
it's
both. Not as if a 19-year-old, 20-year-old, however old, is flagging at the end of a game, so they need to substitute them out for fitness reasons.
I mean, he has played them, but he played them both maybe 3 games in a row or 3 games out of 4. Newcastle, Brighton, where it really didn't work, and then City. So, he did have a little run with both of them in the side, but that's 3 games out of the season. A few people today sort of tweeting me about why doesn't Jose like Martial sort of thing, and I don't think there's much evidence of that. I don't think Martial is out of favour because he didn't start a couple of games in a row. Given that it's only one or the other of them in the squad. Like Martial had that position as his own for a bit, and now Rashford in good form was on 2 in 3, I think, before this game.
Wait, look, when a player is not in Jose's good books because he's on the bench with the under-12s.
Yeah, it's just not in the squad at all. Lukaku, I want to talk a bit more about Lukaku. I thought he was good again today, decent again today, and he's on a really nice run now, 3 and 4. The City game's in the middle of that, and that was obviously disastrous from his point of view. But I think, generally speaking, I feel like a lot of the fuss is really, really excessive about Lukaku. He scored 15 goals already this season, and it's not like, Zlatan had scored a lot of goals last season and he missed so many big chances. Lukaku is not anywhere near that ballpark, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess that's a fair way of looking at it. And another way of looking at it is United paid £75 million for this guy, and it's Manchester United, so we're kind of expecting the best of the best, and Lukaku has his limitations. Fortunately, there's a whole bunch of flat tracks coming up for on which Lukaku can bully some teams.
I mean, we're looking for the best of the best at United, right? Which is, it's just kind of fair enough. I mean, there's not too many people that have scored more than Lukaku this season in England, and I think we talked a lot about the big game thing and how much of that is him versus how much of it is Mourinho. So I think it's a bit difficult. And when the team plays to his strengths, he scores goals. And it's not like the team has to do something really diabolical to play to his strengths. That means through balls into the channels and crosses. Like that's you can play some really nice football that way, can't you?
Sure, and in the past week, he's scored 2 cracking headers.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I know what you mean, and maybe I'm just doing my usual thing of being overly optimistic and overly supportive of the player, but he just looks. I just think he's a really good player, and he scored 15 goals, and he scored 3 and 4, and I think he'll score a ton more this season, and people, I don't really know what people want him to be. I think mostly people just want him to be able to hold up the ball like he looks like he should be able to.
Yeah, and I think we should be clear that he is basically a fox in the box. So
yeah,
he's not that good with the ball at his feet, and he's not that good, at least in certain areas like 30 yards from goal or whatever, and he's not that good in with his back to the goal. So.
but he's really good with the ball in front of him, with the goal, going for goal.
As long as it's on his left foot.
So
bobbled one past the post today, didn't he, on his right?
So you're pretty down in general on Lukaku then. Would you say that he's going to be at United in 2 seasons' time?
Yeah, I'm sure. I think he will be. I mean, it's hard to... Yeah, United generally not a club that brings in star players and just rotates them after 2 years. A few. I mean,
Di Maria,
obviously.
Falcao. I mean, that was a loan. But...
Well, that's a loaner anyway. So the plan was always to rotate them after a year, I guess.
Schweinsteiger.
Yeah, old.
Does Schneiderlin count? Memphis Depay.
There was a piece that Andy Mitten did this week saying City are quite smug that they think their recruitment policy is significantly better than United's. Might be true. Look, I suspect he'll still be at United in a couple of years' time. I suspect he'll still score a lot of goals for United. Whether he can do it in the really big moments against the best teams in cup finals, he hasn't done the first part of that yet at United.
No.
The big matches, we'll see, hopefully.
All right, here's my one last counter-argument on this, which is that actually, in the summer of 2017, £75 million is a completely reasonable amount to spend on a striker who's going to score 25 to 30 goals a season against the smaller clubs. That's my hot take on this.
Yeah, but is that what United really need?
Yeah.
So the other way of putting that is, will United now go spend 90 to 100 million on a player that will win them the European Cup and the league?
Yeah, they just did it with Pogba, right? I think they might well do it again. I mean, this is not given Antoine Griezmann's Twitter output tonight, this is not the time to be talking about that, but, actually, I saw a rumour earlier that he'd signed a pre-contract agreement with Barcelona, but whatever, I wouldn't be surprised at all if United are going to be in the market for, top level talent, whatever that means. And, you said, is this what United really need? Well, when you compare where we're at this season with where we were at last season, get Zlatan fit, play him in all the games against the top 6, play Lukaku in all the rest of the games. It totally works. We've won a lot of games this season that we didn't win last season against smaller clubs, and a big part of the reason is that Lukaku smashes goals in against them.
Sure, yeah. And look, we've seen this kind of argument a lot since City, that look at the progress. And it's true, that United are 8 points better off than last season, are scoring more goals, letting in less. Now clearly the second best team in the country. And Lukaku might just be the second best striker in the country.
Yeah, after who?
No, I'm not sure. I just thought it sounded good.
Yeah. It's like Harry Kane. Where do we put Jesus and Aguero?
Yeah, so he's probably not yet. But, he can aspire to be the second best.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it's absolutely inarguable that United have made significant progress in the last 2 seasons. I mean, it's inarguable. This is. I was thinking about that today. This is so obviously, by so far and away, the best United side since Ferguson retired. That's not even a conversation to have. It's completely obvious. It's not as good as any of the teams that, in the last 20 years of Alex Ferguson. Well, probably actually better than the Jemba team, innit? But, it's not the level it needs to be, but it's clearly better than it's been at any point since Fergie.
Sure. Undeniable.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have a great City side a few miles down the road.
Yeah.
And a manager who's a total pussy when it comes to the big games. Talking of things you probably shouldn't say in social media.
I mean, it's definitely a shame. It is definitely a shame that Mourinho is the way he is. And the argument I think we've talked about a lot on this podcast so far this season, there's always been an argument that Mourinho is a pragmatic manager. This season, the pragmatic thing to do was attack in the big games because a draw is no good, because City are going to get an absolutely ridiculous number of points. Anyway.
Yeah, and unless Mourinho was asked at one of his press conferences, maybe before the game, do you just focus on yourself now because City are gone? And he was basically like, yes. Unfortunately, that seems to have been the case for some time with Mourinho. 0.5 XG, by the way, today.
0.5
So
United.
0.5.
This feels like one of those games where XG doesn't really tell the full story, because XG only measures expected goals from shots actually taken, and there were a lot of things that nearly resulted in big chances.
Oh, nearly. I mean, United probably controlled the game, did they? Is it very Louis this is? Yeah.
But they did.
Played the ball sideways for 95 minutes.
In the first half, they did. But they weren't. It wasn't like in the first half. It wasn't like they weren't progressive and dynamic. I also think one of the things that I would say is a real knock against XG being the only measure of performance is that the order in which goals are scored really affects it, and the time at which goals are scored. Because United's ridiculous complacency in the second half of that game was definitely a function of the fact they were 2-0 up.
Yeah. I don't think anyone would use it as the only measure of performance, but it's certainly one.
Yes. All right, should we do some questions?
Let's do it.
At footy__fan says, would you swap Ozil for Mickey in the January transfer window?
One flaky number 10 who's sometimes creative when he wants to be and when he feels like he's on it, for another flaky number 10 who's sometimes creative when he wants to be and when he's on it.
I think I say this every time this conversation comes up, and we were just talking about numbers. Ozil's numbers are way better than anyone would think.
They are.
And Mourinho and Ozil have had an excellent relationship in the past.
Ozil's numbers have been great throughout his career.
Yeah.
He puts up very good numbers. He creates a lot of chances and a lot of goals.
Yeah. So I think, for me, the short answer to that question is yes. The long answer to that question is yes, because Jose Mourinho is our manager. And if Mourinho wants to swap Ozil for Mkhitaryan, then, it's a kind of it's like when we signed Matic. Matic is not the player in the world who I would have said, oh yeah, we must get him to improve our midfield. But if Mourinho wants him, when it comes to signing players he's already worked with for the current squad that he's working with, I feel like Mourinho is very good at knowing who's going to work and who isn't. At Shark Hamlet says, is the lack of sporting director holding back the club? And wouldn't it be a sensible strategy for dealing with the inevitable Mourinho implosion?
Yeah, well, it's not going to happen under Mourinho. I don't think they're going to impose it on Mourinho. And basically the club have decided that's not the model they want. I think it does create a very interesting dynamic at United. I mean, you've gone from a world in which, Ferguson's model worked because he had his own network. And over the years, he delegated more and more as United grew and talks about a lot. And he's, kind of lectured at Harvard about it or whatever. And it worked for United then. And as soon as he retired, it looked completely anachronistic and it looked like the club was out of date. And the club was, right? Because look at that totally disastrous summer post-Ferguson, where they managed to sign Marouane Fellaini for, $4 million over his actual price and 27 million over his actual price. And it wasn't until United got into bed with first Jorge Mendes and then Raiola that they started signing some players, But and I think that's why, come back to Andy Mitten's piece about City believing they have a much better structure or recruitment policy. And they are probably right, and he's probably right. They've got that kind of structure in place, and rightly or wrongly, they've used the international market and all their feeder clubs and all the City Football Group to impose that right across a number of clubs, and they're just going to scale up the model. And we've talked on this podcast in the past about Southampton's model or Swansea's model. It's, of course, the model used at Barcelona, Real Madrid and Bayern Munich and every other club in Europe. So, United at this moment are the left field club by employing a sort of managerial, I was going to say / agent model, because it's not really Ed Woodward, is it, that's doing the recruitment at the moment. So we'll see. I don't think it'll come in while Jose's in place. Maybe they do it afterwards. Maybe they just like the small group decision making that they can do. But, we heard all those stories from Big Dunk not long ago that United was pretty bureaucratic. And I know, if you're going to be bureaucratic when you're supposed to be making quick decisions because you haven't got this kind of structured model in place, maybe it's not working for them.
Yes, it's a question which is more complicated, I think, than it appears on the surface, because the thing about appointing a sporting director is it's, of course, absolutely no guarantee of success, because it's such a vital recruitment exercise. Like, you have to pick the right one, otherwise you're in real trouble, because you put yourself in hock to the wrong kind of sporting director, and then your transfer policy is a mess, your managerial recruitment's a mess, the kind of sporting director head coach relationship becomes so important to the success of the club and the sustainable success of the club. So, it's a difficult question. Of course, the first question after should we appoint one is as big a question, and it's who.
Yeah, I don't know.
Me neither.
And I'm not necessarily advocating that's the way United should definitely go. They've got to find a model that's right for the club, but it's definitely left field compared to the rest of Europe and the rest of the elite clubs in Europe.
Yeah,
and of course the Monchi, who was at Atletico for so many years and was rumoured to, potentially be a target for United, ended up at Roma. So perhaps he's not not available anymore. Bayern have a different model. They bring through ex-players. I'm not sure there's too many United's ex-players would go into that role. Although, of course, they brought Nicky Butt into a similar role, but for the academy.
Yeah, you could imagine, I don't know, Michael Carrick learning that job, or Darren Fletcher or someone like that, one of the intelligent midfielders of United's past. At Chris_316 says, if United get to the cup final, will Ed be heading to Wembley or working as the world's greatest super spy at the royal wedding? Yeah, Ed, will he be having to watch out for foreign, dignitaries posing as, foreign assassins posing as dignitaries and stuff that day, or will he have the day off and go to the cup final?
Middle of May, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I have any international assignments around that time, so I think I'll go for the cup final, don't you?
Yeah, good. Okay, instead of an attacker, says at M_Haynes05, which we have a number of, should we buy a high-quality proven centre-back in January? Our defence has its shaky moments, and with the vast number of centre-backs we have, don't have a standout world-class one, other than possibly Bailly, who's injured for really the next 3 months injured. By the looks like. And
ankle injuries are a bugger because sometimes they don't heal well.
And that puts him now 2 seasons at United, major injuries in both, which puts him into the standard United centre-back bracket of broken all the time, which is a real problem because Smalling is the only one out of all of them that isn't broken all the time, and sometimes he's broken in the head.
Lindelof's not broken.
No, that's true, yet.
Physically, he's fine.
He's done well, actually. He's kind of grown back in. He's like, he seems to be doing well when he plays now, which is nice. Yeah,
he's had a couple of good performances. Not in the team today, which will tell you where his status is at the club still. But yeah, he's done all right when he's come in. To answer the question, well, I guess so. I mean, if you could actually find a really top centre back who's going to improve United there, then yeah, sure. But you don't need 18 centre backs, so someone's got to go.
The positions that I think are most upgradable at United right now are both fullback spots, because I think if you had really superb fullbacks on both sides, United would be just a much, much better team. At Iron Bruiser says, which member of the animal kingdom does our midfield require? That's an interesting question. I wonder whether this is a reference to the fact that our strike force has a lion in it. We could do with a sort of fox type, I think, in the middle. We want someone with a bit of cunning and guile and invention, I would say. Maybe an owl, maybe a wise old owl with his head on a swivel.
No, whatever. We need Roy Keane in there. What kind of animal is he?
I don't know. He's like 4 different sorts of animal all melded into one. Regular provider of the best questions on the Rankcast at Big Shimmery Wall says, are the 364 Cantonars gifted over the 12 days all Eric or Eric clones, or are the majority miscellaneous Cantonars like Jacques Cantona or Susan Cantona that are cheap filler presents? Are some of the other Erics just random guys called Eric Cantona even? I'm pretty sure that every one of them has to be Eric Cantona, otherwise the song just doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree.
On Twitter, Richard Osman, the tweest man alive, has done a World Cup of Christmas songs, and Fairy Tale of New York
He loves
won.
doing this World Cup of something, doesn't
Loves
he?
them, absolutely loves them. And Fairy Tale of New York won, which is a fair result. But of course, the real answer to what the best Christmas song is it's 12 Cantonars. That's clearly the truth.
Has the grime version of that never been released?
No, I don't know what you do to make that more grime, to be honest. All right,
With some bells, obviously.
We will avoid spoilers at all costs here, but at Joey M_UX says, thoughts on The Last Jedi? I thought it was a great movie on its own, but felt really let down as a Star Wars movie. Just my opinion, would love to hear yours. I proper loved it as a Star Wars movie. It's the only time since the original trilogy that, apart from Rogue One, where I've gone into a Star Wars movie and just been in it from beginning to end. Like I was on the journey with the characters. I ended up kind of loving the new characters, and I thought the old characters were very well served. And it's also a really good movie.
It is, and in fact, the question is kind of right because it does stand alone as a movie.
Yeah.
But it is part of the trilogy. Is it trilogy?
There's
9 of them.
Yeah, it's going to be 9, whatever that is.
Yeah. Too much for my brain to work out. And yeah, there are some things I have a problem with it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, as did my 4-year-old, who was insanely excited.
Great.
And just off the scale, and was riveted to it for all 2 hours and 31 minutes. So yeah, it was. I mean, it's great fun. Fully enjoyed it. Go see it. Go see it on the biggest screen you can go see it on.
Yeah,
it's not perfect. There are definitely some plot things that don't make sense or could have been filled in. But hey, this is a bit like it's a bit like getting Mourinho after David Moyes. With the 3 prequels. I'd accept anything now.
Yes. Okay, at Trotsky Grip says, in a recent presser, Jose said, I'm not paid to come here and make any comments or to ask for something from the fans. Do you think that was exactly what he was told by the people upstairs? Seems like a weird choice of words otherwise. I chose this question really just to say I'm pretty sure Jose Mourinho has never spoken words in a press conference he was asked to say by people upstairs, basically.
Not a chance. And if he was, he would come out with something a bit sarcastic about it. Yeah, interesting because he has actually talked about the fans, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Since he's been here, talked about the support and the noise and the big fuss about the reaction to Lukaku, or in fact the Anthony Martial Rashford substitution, which was apparently a projection of United fans' feelings about Lukaku. So, yeah, a little odd, this one.
Yeah. But Jose Mourinho's entire tenure at United, in terms of things he said in public, have been a little odd. At Maz_man_UTD, friend of the show, says, I think Sir Alex Ferguson make decisions based on what is good for the club usually. Phil Mourinho make decisions based on what is good for him. Or am I used to Sir Alex of years ago, got the job with no fear to tarnish his reputation? I mean, I think there's a very strong argument to say that Alex Ferguson made a lot of decisions at United based on what was good for him.
Yeah, I'm just not having that one. Sorry. There are many things about Mourinho I don't like. There are times during the second half today I hate him because he's everything I just didn't want. And we've talked about this before, but are we going to pretend that Ferguson was some, kind of saint who didn't think about himself? He sold the club down the river for a cup of horse spunk. please. He thought about himself more than anything. He threatened to walk away from the club for money, So Ferguson did great things to this club. It was also all about him all of the time. And he talked about that in retirement, about total control. Mourinho is much the same way. It is about him, and his ego is off the charts, which isn't always great for the club. But maybe we need a little bit of that as well, because look what happens when your ego is tiny, like David Moyes.
Doing a bang-up job at West Ham. I cannot wait for the wheels to come off that in spectacular fashion. Oh dear. At Rory Murph 1 says, what 7 things about Mourinho bother you the most? And it's the 7 players he puts behind the ball every time the opposition have got the ball in a big game. The minimum of 7 players. At Jay Bonza, friend of the show, says, sitting in the Leicester end next weekend, any tips on how to get away with cheering madly when United score? Yeah, do not cheer madly when United score. Politely clap when Leicester score and look disgruntled when United score. These are the 21st century rules, unfortunately.
In the glory days, when it was so much easier to get a pile of tickets, you could be pretty sure somewhere like Leicester that if you're in the home end and United scored, everyone would jump up.
It's not the way anymore, is it?
Sadly so, sadly.
At Vikash Patel 94 asks a question to me, because today was the last game that I attended as a football writer. I've retired from football writing. The podcast will, of course, carry on. But this is now the only thing I do in football, which is awesome. Vikash says, what was your favourite game that you attended, be it press box or in the stands, during the 4 years covering United? And I can answer that question so easily, because it was the semi-final of the FA Cup with the late Martial winner, and just the incredible atmosphere around Wembley after that. That was in the stands. My favourite in the press box would probably be Wembley again for the League Cup final, just because it was cool to, cover a cup final from a kind of press standpoint. So yeah, but it's been a lot of fun, and I'm absolutely delighted it's finished now. I can move on to doing things that I actually care about.
It gives you a top 10 moments.
Never again. I might start doing a listicle series. After 6 months, I might start doing a listicle series for United Rant. I'm not going to do that.
Do it. We never have listicles.
No, and we never...
I think we did once where we had 50 things.
Yeah, but, that's you going absolutely banana. Was that Moyes, of 50 things that David Moyes has got wrong?
Yeah. Yeah. I reckon that sealed him. That sealed his fate, to be honest.
It's one of the great blog posts of all time, in my opinion. Right. That'll do for questions. Lots of other questions about stuff we've already covered today. Thanks to everyone who asked us questions, and we'll, of course, do some more next time we speak. We're going to have a little break, so it's going to be like a week and a half to the next podcast because of the way the Christmas schedule works. We're going to record on the 27th, I think, is our plan. That's when we're aiming to do our next podcast. But before that, there's a bunch of games to preview, because that's why we're having a little break from podcasting for a week and a half. So we've got to preview Bristol, Leicester and Burnley. Ed, what do you know about Bristol City?
Is it Bristol City? I thought there was only one Bristol. No, I'm kidding. Before all 3 of you send me hate mail. Ouch. They're doing very well. They're flying high in the Championship. And Ashton Gate, which has always been a big ground and with a big crowd there, will be packed to the rafters for United's trip there. And I'm sure there'll be a great atmosphere with a team that's playing super well at the moment. It's going to be fun. I mean, Mourinho said today that he was going to make a few changes, not that many changes, because he said Bristol City are doing very well in the Championship, and it's not a Championship which is like it used to be, is basically what he was saying, that the standard in the Championship is a lot closer to the bottom of the Premier League than it used to be. And I think that you look at the teams that have come up, there is a pretty solid argument to say that the sort of top third of the Championship and the bottom third of the Premier League are very similar in quality at the moment. So
I don't know. Obviously, it's United are heavy favourites for this tie, especially over 2 legs. But there's a couple of things working against them. And the fact that we play there on Wednesday night. So that is, another quick turnaround after what was already a quick turnaround. And then there's a Premier League game 2 days later on the Saturday, 3 days later.
I'm sure Mourinho will make changes. I'm sure. I mean, it might not be 10 or 11 changes, but it may well be 6 or 7.
Did I say it was over 2 legs? That's nonsense, of course. This is not the semi-final.
No. But, I mean, it's a really busy December. Lots of games coming. This is the least important of all those games. Sorry, Bristol. But it is. There will definitely be changes. But he hasn't played the kids in any game. He's not turned out 4 or 5 kids like used to be the case when the League Cup didn't matter because we were winning the league all the time.
I mean,
no, it matters.
That brings me. That's a very interesting thing that you said there. You said out of these 3 games, this is the least important game. Isn't this the most important game out of the next 3? Given that we're not going to win the league this season, isn't it more important that we beat Bristol than we beat Leicester or Burnley?
No, are you sure United are going to finish in the top 4? Because if the wheels come off and United switch off in the second half of the season, it's not guaranteed. There's what, a 6-point gap to 4th or something like that at the moment.
I guess so.
It's not much, and you can make plenty of arguments for Arsenal, Spurs, or Liverpool all getting on a run. So until United have increased that points gap to 10 points or so, I don't think it's acceptable to switch off. There is no Europa League to save United's Champions League position next season, so that's still the number 1 priority. Still sounding a bit Arsenal, isn't it? Trophies are definitely important, and it'll be very, very important if United is still in it in the second leg of the semi-final.
Yeah, okay.
Until then, it's not.
I'll take it. I'll take that. What do you think United's lineup will be? I think we might see Romero in goal.
For sure, Romero. Yeah, I mean, Valencia's injured, so he won't play. So maybe Tuanzebe will come in at right back. Maybe Young switches over. Maybe Smalling plays there. I mean,
no, Darmian still exists.
Oh, he exists. That's true. He exists. When's the last time he actually played?
Don't know, but whenever it was at left back. Him.
Sure.
Yeah.
Certainly going to get a game. McTominay will probably get a game.
Pogba.
Would be nice to see Tuanzebe get a game.
I just want to see Pogba, Ed. That's all I care about now. I feel like we've really been denied the fix of Paul Pogba that we were supposed to have had by this point in the season. There's just.
Will he definitely play?
I mean, I'm sure. He's had such a long break on the back of a long break. I'm sure I'm not sure, but I imagine he'll play. Especially given the paucity of other options, because I kind of think we need him in this game. I know we're not supposed to, but I would feel a lot more confident with Pogba in the team than without. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Up front, I mean, is this the game Ibra starts?
No, he's not. He's not ready.
On the bench again today, got no minutes. No. Not played a lot, has he, since he came back?
He's not. He came back too early. He was not ready. It's just really evident. He's lost so much speed, and he didn't have much to lose in the first place. His movement is still looking, when he's played, has still looked really laboured. He should have just waited another month and not tried to prove to everyone that he was a lion instead of a man.
Yeah, but lions don't do that, do they?
That's true. Mkhitaryan, Mourinho was asked whether he'd play Mkhitaryan, and he said it's possible. He didn't sound very convinced by how possible he thought it was.
No, I think is the answer.
I guess that some version of that. I wonder whether Lukaku might get a rest, because there's a strong argument that he needs one.
He deserves one, and of course, United have got 2 very good options in Rashford and Martial, who can both play.
Yeah.
So, presumably Rashford and Martial starts as well. And I think that would be about right.
Yeah, absolutely. Which then takes us to Well, I was about to say the resurgent Leicester, but they had a rough one this weekend, didn't they? I mean, Claude Puel, I thought was an absolutely terrible appointment, and in classic, I don't know anything about football news, he has masterminded an 8-game undefeated run or something, and they absolutely battered whoever it was they played last week. I can't remember who. That's it. But then Palace beat them at home on this weekend.
One up for British managers there. Hey, sticking it to the French. Yeah, I mean, look, Puel has done a good job turning Leicester around, hasn't he? And the criticism of him at Southampton was that he was very conservative, played this boring style of football, and which was, deliciously ironic when they stuck 4 past Southampton at St Mary's last week. So you'd expect, like, bad day today, for sure, and they were down by plenty early in that game, weren't they? So bad day today, and they had a man sent off, and plenty of mitigating circumstances wipe that away, and it should be a tough game for United next week because they're definitely on an upward sort of trajectory at the moment.
I wonder whether, well, what I would imagine is that either against Bristol or Leicester or Burnley, we're going to come a cropper. I don't know which one it is, but it feels like a lot to ask for game, 2-day gap, game, 2-day gap, game for United to be good in all of those games.
Yes, but we don't come a cropper against crappy sides too often.
Just Huddersfield, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, look, it doesn't... And look, not to be too... It could be the end of the world-ish about this, but it's a really important period because that thing I said about, now mentally the title is gone, and maybe it had gone already, I don't know, but United are not going to claw 11 points back on this City side, and it's more likely United will lose another 11 points to City over the second half of the season, or maybe even more. And that kind of mental thing, lose one of these games over Christmas, and it's 14 points or 17 points, and all of a sudden you're looking backwards to 4th, and not forwards and up. And that could have a really big influence on United's momentum and style of play and outlook for the next few months.
Yeah, so it's very important to maintain that momentum. But I suppose maybe you would say that the one where they might be most likely to come a cropper is Burnley, given what an absolutely unbelievable season they're having this season. And one of the places where they've done very well is on the road. Burnley's away record was a kind of joke last season, that they were almost impossible to beat at home. We were one of the very few sides that did it. But they struggled to get many points at all away from home. In fact, we were one of the few places they did get some points away from home. But this season they've been much better on the road. And they play this remarkable style of football where their defensive line is so deep. It just shouldn't work, but it's working over and over and over again for them this season. So this is a big ask, especially off the back of what is likely to be a pretty tricky game against Leicester, because Leicester have got so many attacking weapons. When Riyad Mahrez is playing well again, Vardy's scoring a few, they could definitely hurt United on the break. And if United kind of go into the Burnley game with their confidence rocked, that could be pretty rough.
Yeah. Yes. And I guess United haven't struggled in this kind of game nearly as much as they did last season. Teams that are good defensively and don't have too many ambitions. And this is the way Burnley play, and they are very sound at the back. They've got a good keeper, good centre-backs in Tarkowski and me, and Long when he plays. Obviously, ex-United player in Bardsley. A couple of holding players, Defoe and Cork in midfield, give them a really solid defensive base. And they work with what they've got. I think that's fine. And Hendrick sort of, he's an all-energy player in midfield. He's the one who sort of tries to make the link with the attack. And in Sean Dyche, they've got a manager who knows exactly what he's getting out of these players. It's interesting. He basically turned down the Everton job. Is it because he didn't have the confidence to take on that job? He's waiting for an even bigger job, and he's actually got even more confidence. It's because you feel like he's destined for big things, and he definitely needs to make another step because he's not going to go from Burnley to Manchester United, is he? He's going to have to make another step if he's got real ambitions in the game, and you kind of feel he probably does do. And the other thing I like about Sean Dyche is he understands football, and I don't mean he's a football manager. He kind of gets fan culture. He's worried about the future of the game. He's worried about the direction that it's taking in terms of commercialization and forgetting its roots and the place the football club has in the community. Great interview with him in the Times over the weekend. And I like him. He seems like a good guy as well as having built a good team.
It's interesting that you say that he's destined for great things, or big things, I think you said. That'll be really interesting to see whether he can make the transition out of doing so well at doing what he's doing currently. Because it's the sort of reverse Guardiola thing, isn't it? That Guardiola couldn't do what he's doing with Burnley's squad, and that's fine because he's a brilliant manager of elite players. But Burnley, and with Sean Dyche, would he be able to be a brilliant manager of elite players? It's such a difficult thing.
Yeah, no idea. I mean, it's kind of saying he's, and I'm sure that question would be on the lips of every billionaire owner of the elite clubs. Yeah. So I'm sure he wouldn't get one of those jobs, but he would get a job at Everton.
Yeah.
He might get a job at Spurs.
Yeah, and.
That kind of level, and so it's interesting that he basically didn't want to take this Everton job.
I wonder whether that's because he felt like it was, there's a relatively new owner at Everton, and maybe it's a little bit of a hiding to nothing to an extent. I know it's an interesting dilemma. For someone in Dyche's position, but I think it's going to be. I think Burnley really will park the bus against United, and like you say, we've struggled less with that. And we should have won the game against Burnley at Old Trafford last season. The chances that were missed in that game, people remember Tom Heaton's performance, but I think he made one good save in that whole game. United missed some really big chances and knocked their shots at Heaton far too often. A bit better finishing if the pattern of play is anything like it was in that game, and we'll be absolutely fine. But I think by then, the team could be really tired. It's going to be grueling the next 3 weeks in which we play an absolutely ridiculous number of games. So,
yeah, Bristol, Leicester, Burnley, Southampton, all before the end of the year, and then Everton a couple of days after that, and then the cup game.
Yeah, so it's going to be a tough run. I guess given that it is traditional, we have to do predictions, even though predicting a game 3 games out seems even more utterly ridiculous than all the predictions we normally do. But let's do it. What do you reckon the scores will be in all 3 of these games, Ed?
Win at Bristol.
Yeah, score?
Let's call it 3-1. Don't know why. Draw at Leicester.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to call it 1-1.
Okay.
And victory over Burnley. Let's call that 1-0.
Okay. I'm going to go with 2-0 against Bristol. And I don't want to do it, but I think we might slip up at Leicester. Listen, I'm going to predict the result. I think it's going to be not the one I want it to be. I think that might be a 1-2 or 2-1 to Leicester. Ouch. And then, 1-0 against Burnley sounds about right.
All right.
Well, that was a long podcast with a lot of games to talk about, and we'll be back with another one after the Burnley game, which is the Burnley game's Boxing Day. We're going to record the next day, and the podcast will be ready whenever Tom can get it to you. In the meantime,
after 4-0 wins to United, 12 goals for Lukaku, No?
Sounds good. Sounds really good. In the meantime, very happy Hanukkah to people celebrating, an extremely Merry Christmas. And if there's a festival that I've missed that I'm not aware of, enjoy that one too. But if you celebrate,
Well, obviously all the Jedis are celebrating this week.
yeah, clearly. But yeah, have a lovely Christmas if you're celebrating that. I hope it's very peaceful and pleasant, and we will see you after that.
See you soon.
The Rantcast is produced by Tom Jenkins and supported by listeners like you. Head to patreon.com/Rantcast to find out more.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.